Hello, and welcome to this Introduction to Sanskrit, Part 5, the Internal Forms of Vowels. When I gave a quick overview of the history of the Devanagari script, I mentioned that many current systems of writing have their roots in ancient Semitic scripts. Then there occurred a significant split between those writing systems in which vowels had their own letters, as we are used to in our Latin alphabet, and those where only consonants were full letters and vowels were indicated by marks alongside of them. Devanagari is one of the scripts that came from the no vowel branch, but we have already seen that as a matter of fact, Devanagari does have its own separate vowels in good standing. Nevertheless, the way in which you are more likely to find vowels in written Devanagari is as diacritic marks and not as full letters. The separate letters are used almost entirely only for the beginning of a word. This again is one of the big differences between Sanskrit and Hindi and how they use the Devanagari alphabet. We are now going to look at what the vowels look like when they are used inside or at the end of words. We're going to use the letter ka, though what you see here applies to any consonant with just a very few exceptions. We have pointed out already that when you see a consonant with no other indications, it is automatically pronounced with a short a after it. So if you want to write a consonant followed by an a, you've already done so once you've written the consonant. What may look like a bare k is actually the syllable ka. But what if you have a word that does not end in any vowel? Is there a way of designating that the word just ends on a consonant? We use a little diagonal stroke at the bottom end of the word. It's called the virama, and it cancels the short a or any other vowel. Then our pronunciation of a word can stop with a consonant. So to come back to where we were a minute ago, when you see the letter ka, then it already says ka with a short a unless there's a virama or any other vowel attached to the ka. If you want to use a long a with a consonant, all you need to do is to write the vertical line after the consonant. When we looked at the long and short a earlier, we saw that the difference between them was the addition of one vertical line to the short form. So we'll make use of the same method now. If the short a is implied, to turn it into the long a, we only need to add the same vertical line. The next vowel is the letter I, pronounced I, as in it, and we can indicate by the vertical line in front of the consonant and attach to it with a bow. So we have the vowel sign, and then we have the consonant ka, but it's not pronounced ik, it's pronounced ke. For the long form of I, which is pronounced e, we simply switch the order. Now we have ka followed by the vertical stroke and connecting it back to the consonant, so we get ki. If the stroke and bow come before the consonants, it's the short I. If it comes afterward, it's the long version, I. We move on to the letter U or O in its short form. Within words, we express it by putting a little bow underneath the ka and having it point to the left. That gives us the short O. For the long version of the O, that is U, the little bow points in the other direction. And then it's the combination ku. Let me go back through these then. With no sign, ka. With a vertical line added, ka. For the I vowel, with a line on the left, ke, the line on the right, ki, each time connected by a full bow. Then ko, with the loop going to the left, and ku, with the bow or loop going towards the right. Remember the vowels that looked like consonants to us? The next vowel on the list is re, which is quite a feat to write out by hand, unless it appears in the middle of a word, in which case it's very easy. As you can see here, all we need to do is put a little half loop opening to the right underneath the ka or other consonants. For the longer version, re, there are two smaller loops underneath the consonant, in this case, the ka. There's one more vowel that may have looked like a consonant to us, namely the vowel L. This vowel is easily identified inside of a word by having pretty much its entire full form located at the bottom of the consonant. We move on to the so-called diphthongs. There is the vowel A, which we would write with the letter E in transcription, but pronounce it as A. In the middle of a word, we simply indicate it by sprouting a little line out of the top of the consonant. So here, the ka with a little feather in its cap gives us K. In order to write kai, we add a second feather to the ka, and that gives us what we need to express kai, or any other consonant with that vowel attached. The letter O, you may remember, is created by putting a little line, what I've just called a feather, on top of the vowel A, and then we have O, and following the same principle, we have to add another vertical line, because otherwise there would be no difference between K and Ko, but we add a vertical line to the right and have it once again sprout a little feather, and so we get Ko. Finally, the ow sound is written by putting two strokes over the vertical line. That gives us cow. We have used ka as our example for how to combine consonants with vowels. I repeat that these directions apply to almost all consonant-vowel combination forms. But that's just one consonant followed by one vowel. What happens to consonants when they stand side by side in a word? That will be the next installment.